Hello and welcome to the podcast Far Side of the Moon. I am here, Carlos, today with Albert,
Hey guys, what's up?
Letty,
Hello.
and the topics that we look to discuss throughout the podcast will be focusing on the sci-fi and/or horror genre, and we reserve our rights to change that and talk about whatever the hell we want.
That's right.
And to start us off, we are going to be talking about the HBO series Raised by Wolves, actually an HBO Max original. I just want to say that this is actually only for the app. If you have HBO on the set top box, if you got it on your TV, you will not be able to watch this. You do have to get the app. And I recommend it. If you don't have the actual channel, you can try a free trial and see if you actually enjoy it before you make a purchase. The show is produced and the first two episodes are directed by Ridley Scott, well-known sci-fi, I want to say, content creator.
Yeah, director, producer, executive producer. Now, we were talking about what we're gonna basically go over on this podcast. We're gonna be talking about this miniseries. Obviously, we're gonna do the whole series, then talk about our just the whole series in general. We're gonna do episode by episode, and at the end, basically do a conclusion. See, because we're obviously gonna bounce off a couple theories as the episodes go. The
Right.
idea is to watch an episode, talk about it, and then wait for it next week. But I would like to point out that Carlos did see the first 7 episodes without us, so he is a little bit ahead of us. But I mean, it's okay. So we're gonna bounce off some ideas, some hypotheses or theories on what we talk about. Later on, we'll talk about if we're full of shit. Guys, you could comment, let us know you guys are full of shit, and your theory is completely wrong. But it's completely fine. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk about the show, have a good time.
And we encourage feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Encourage feedback, positive or negative, don't matter. We like to hear both. Now, without further ado, Carlos, would you like to start us off? Any other comments? Letty?
No.
So now recapping the first episode titled Raised by Wolves. I want to first point out that when you start a series or any product on HBO Max, you do get a little ad for another show that they have. I'm not even going to bring up the show that they have right here because they do change as time goes on, whatever they are currently promoting.
Of course.
And then you get the HBO Max logo and it heads into the episode. Starts off with a character's narration. You have subtitles on, you will know that this is Campion, talking about being the first pioneers. And now we see a big explosion, and he talks about his mother and father keeping them safe. And then we get the title card, Raised by Wolves. And now we see a ship, what looks like it's exiting a wormhole or some sort of passage
Right.
and landing on this planet. From there, we see it not crash land, it makes as comfortable a landing as possible and almost seems to fall into this hole, right? And now we're introduced to the first two characters here. We have Amanda Collin, who is playing Mother, and we have Abu Bakar Samin. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He is playing Father. And it seems these characters are meeting each other for the first time as they wake up on this ship. A little strange. And it looks like they are about to be in danger, but they are very calm.
Making it well known that they're not exactly human. At least that's the first vibe I get from this.
I would say that you were probably right.
I would be freaking out trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
And
No emotion. They're just like, oh, it's time to get off.
Oh, definitely. I mean, right here, as they are taking things off of the ship, I'm assuming it's everything that they need for their colony. We already know that they are creating a colony from the voiceover before.
of course.
And the whole time, the character Father is trying to tell a joke, try to make a mother feel better, even though she seems like she's doing fine. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
She-
She sorry. I would like to point out that she's about to fall in the hole, and there's no struggle. There's no like
There's
oh,
no fear.
help. No, nothing. It was kind of just like looks
Now-
down at the ship, and it's like
Now, Carlos, I did notice that you didn't mention what planet they jumped in, but do you guys know what Kepler 22b is?
Let me frame that differently. Albert, would you like to talk about the?
I definitely would. I definitely would.
sorry.
I would definitely love to talk about this planet, Carlos. It's actually a real life planet. It's Kepler 22b, which is what I like about this show. It kind of keeps it into the realm of our universe, or whatever you want to think about it, our reality, and I think it's great. Now, they show us this planet, Kepler 22b, which is apparently, according to scientists here in the United States, or in the world, whatever you want to see it as. Now, they do mention that this is the closest planet that is similar to Earth, so possibly sustains life. Now, do we know? Are we not? Do we know if it does? Do we know if it doesn't? Obviously, we don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a way to send people over there to live or not live, right?
yet.
I mean, yeah, yes.
Yet. Now, Kepler 22b, light years away, and I like the fact that this is a planet that they chose to send our
Protagonist.
protagonist to, a real life planet.
Well, I guess I just want to add to that see, I chose this show because of how realistic they make things seem. Of course, it is science fiction.
Right.
Of course, this is not something that can actually happen, at least not right now. But to our understanding, this is not completely...
Impossible.
Yeah, it's not completely impossible. We have people that are working to try to make stuff like this possible, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So from here, we see the characters, mother and father, now leaving the ship that has just fallen into the hole. And they are carrying a little bit of supplies. I want to point out that the joke that father was saying while they were in danger. What did the male magnet say to the female magnet? Well, from when I saw you at first, I thought you were repulsive. But when I saw the other side of you, I thought you were very attractive.
Hell yeah.
I'm ad-libbing. You should watch the show yourself if you want to see exactly what they said.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. So it seems like they're walking for a little bit. Seems like they may be looking for the perfect place to set up their colony, because it is just an empty planet. Seems to be a little bit of vegetation, but mostly just dirt, right?
Yeah.
You guys see anything noteworthy?
I mean, it's just kind of like an empty land. You see a couple little,
Like trees, kind
yeah.
of. They're not. They look like. It just looks like
it
a
looks
desert.
like a palm tree.
Yeah.
Really, really dry palm tree. And you do see out in the distance, it kind of looks like a desert with some life in it. You do see a couple of sand tornadoes that you see in the ground, just kind of
Yeah, just like it's just the wind picking up dirt, right?
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. Now,
So it's just a really dirty, dry planet. All right. So it looks like they find the spot that they want to set up camp, and they let out one of the pieces that they've been carrying, and it just grows into the shelter that they need, which is great, right?
yeah, let's
Yeah.
give it a name.
Well, from here they get into the little building, and they start the process of incubating the embryos that they brought.
Yeah.
So the actual process, it's mother laying down on this bed of sorts, and father is inserting these little wires or tubes, very very thin though.
He calls them umbilicals, so at this point we could just assume that they're umbilical cords.
Well, they're not literally umbilical cords,
Right, right.
but they're calling them umbilical cords because of the function that they are serving in this scenario, right?
I just want to point out how these 6 connections that mother has in her stomach that are going to help her do the birthing cycle, or not birthing cycle, but like growing cycle to help the babies grow, basically, are spread out in her stomach, kind of, and they look like nipples. I associated it with nipples because there's 3 on one side and 3 on the other, and I just kind of assume it's like a small reference to wolves, since the show is called Raised by Wolves.
So father's connecting these little tubes to her, and we know from this little transition here, where it shows us 9 months later, it is the process of birthing these babies. Not exactly birthing them, because they are just growing in these incubation little pods connected to mother. I'm assuming it's because mother is feeding them some kind of nutrients or
Right.
providing some sort of code to them to start growing. We don't get to know exactly what the mechanism is, but we don't need to know, right?
Yeah. Need to know basis.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know
We
what's
just
here.
need, the only thing we need to know is that they could do it, and this is what they're here for. They're here
Mhm.
to bring these humans to life. And at this point, we can say obviously that these are not human characters, mother and father, right?
Yeah.
Right.
From this point, we don't know exactly what they are. Do you guys have any guesses, any theories?
I wrote down in my notes cyborg, but that's
Yeah.
it. Like I didn't really.
I think I wouldn't say cyborg. I think cyborg specifically is when it's part human.
Yeah.
But you could be right. They could definitely be part human because they are being used to grow these humans, right?
Mhm.
So I think that they are just androids, where they are some sort of robotic mechanism given the appearance of human. Given the appearance, made to look human, and they are made in such a way that they have organic elements of them that humans can take advantage of, right?
Okay.
Because that's what we see. We see
Okay.
mother being hooked up to these little sacks of embryos, and lo and behold, 9 months later, little babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we say lo and behold 9 months later because they're actually it does tell you because they have like little home now. Apparently, father's been construction this whole time, or we're left to assume that because he's on top of a roof, he's kind of hitting something with like a makeshift hammer kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it says like
9 months
it's
later.
yeah, it says on the top 9 months later, and here we go. Father goes back to the
Incubation room.
to the incubation room, and of
Mother's
course,
still laying down.
and I also want to point out that father is trying to say another joke there, trying to make her feel comfortable. So
Mhm.
I guess we're gonna see a lot of that. This is gonna be father's character. He's
Yeah.
more of a laid back kind of deal, gonna chilled out. So that's the vibe that I'm getting at least from
Right.
this man right
It's
here.
like their attempt of comic relief.
Yeah.
It just brings a little, I guess, attributes. Is that
Well,
what?
it's a personality,
Yeah.
right?
But yeah, it's just a little to the personality because his name is father. Like he doesn't have a name.
An actual name.
Yeah.
Right. So now we see father taking these little babies out of the embryonic sacs. I want to point out how small these children look. These are the size of a hand. So I would assume it's like a premature birth.
I mean, you could say it was 9 months, but I mean,
It
But we
wasn't
know that they're
it-
not getting the same nutrients that they
Yeah.
would
That is
as
right.
if they were born inside a person.
that is right.
So we see the scene. We see father laying out all these babies, and mother's expression. She seems really happy to be going through this. And now we come to the 6th baby, the last one, and they seem to not be breathing. So it's really sad. We see this, it looks like stillborn. And father lays it down to mother, and mother is like, no, hand it to me. And father is quick to tell her, no, our programming dictates that we're supposed to break it down and
Feed it to the other babies.
feed it to the other babies so they can grow up stronger. Because we do not have a lot of resources. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But here, mother has a certain sentimentality it shows. So even though that they are cyborgs or androids or some sort of robot, they do have emotions. This is our first
I guess time you see either or showing emotion, and mother kind of has like watery eyes, and she's looking down to the baby, and she starts humming. She does this little, I guess like song, but while she's singing it, she's just shaking her head no. It's a really I guess sentimental.
yeah. She's
It's an
obviously
emotional scene. It's an
And
emotional
emotional,
scene.
yeah. She's definitely burdened by this dead child
Mhm.
here. And she's doing what she can to either comfort it in its death or comfort herself. And in this moment where she's crying, she's literally dropping tears on this child, it starts to move. And it's alive now. And father seems really happy by it too, as happy as he could be. It's like our programming dictates we name the youngest after our creator. They name the child Campion. And we look at it, and it looks like a monkey.
Little baby monkey.
Little baby monkey Campion. Now we have a transition scene here. It seems
We're gonna do some time skipping here in the show.
oh yeah, definitely a time skip here, because now we see mother and father working at the camp that they have here, and father's trying to feed the children. And while they do not look interested in the soup that they're given, father's trying to encourage them to eat it by pretending to eat it himself. But they're not having it. One of them is actually crying.
He's tired of this living. Where are these people's phones, man? Like, that's what I want to know. Where are the cell phones?
Not a phone in sight. And now we transition back over. Well, now we transition later down the line where we see 5 of the kids playing, and then one of the kids is climbing the incubation room barrier, where it's like because it has kind of a honeycomb aesthetic to it, where
Yeah, there's like little blocks sticking out of it. There's enough room for one to climb, of course, have a little bit of fun, but that is not what it's for.
no, that's not what it's for. So mother is shouting at Campion to get down, and now they seem to have found something in the ground here. Mother and father seem to be digging up some large bones. I want to point out this is another wolf-like characteristic.
Oh, that's right. Here you go, our second reference to wolves.
And right here, we actually get to see how strong these androids are. I'm going to start calling them androids just to simplify.
Yeah.
Where they are able to dig up this giant skull, probably the size of a car, you want to say?
I agree with that.
It's like the size of a car. We don't know how much it could weigh, but whatever it weighs, it's not too heavy for them to carry. Between the two of them, mother and father carried it over their heads, and mother actually puts down one of her arms to show that she can carry it with just one. So, obviously showing off how strong these androids are for our information.
Yeah.
Now we have another transition here. It seems to be another day where they are playing inside. It seems like they're having a good family moment inside the little shack that they have made. And one of the children is wandering out. This character here named Tally starts just walking around, just looking at her doll and humming a little sweet song. La-di-da-di-da-di-oo-do-do-do-do. And now mother has noticed that she's gone and shouting, Tally, Tally, looking for her child.
Scared. I think this is one of the other times that we actually see, at this point in Android, show a little bit of emotion when at first, I would like to recall, androids looked like they were going to die, fall into a hole, the whole ship was crashing down, it was going to go in.
They didn't care about themselves.
They didn't care about it. They didn't care about themselves at all. But now we're yelling. Now we're worried about where Tally is. Like, okay, now we're showing a little bit more feeling towards the kids that they ended up having, of course.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, everyone in the compound here is looking for Tally. We've got father who's taking care of the rest of the 5 kids, holding one in his hands, and the other one holding...
Like a chain of holding hands.
Yeah, there's like chain of holding hands, and he's carrying one on his shoulder. And they're all shouting, Tally, Tally, all looking for their sister. Mother running on ahead, following the trail that Tally has made. She comes upon a hole, and what we're supposed to assume is Tally has fallen into this hole.
Into this pit.
And this is actually where we see another instance of wolf-like, another wolf-like behavior coming up here, where when mother finds Tally's doll next to the hole and sees evidence of her falling, she starts howling. She howls into the air and she holds up the doll. The next scene is father making a gravestone for Tally. Well, they don't have her body, but they still mark her death.
Yeah, they basically just get a giant rock and just mark its name. Poor Tallis.
So from here we transition to another night. It seems like it's actually really cold. We seem to have some sort of snow in the background, and
Time skipping throughout this whole episode
Yeah,
is going to seem very...
yeah. The kids are growing up as we time skip through each thing. They're a little bit older each time, and there seems to be a little bit less of the kids as time goes on.
Yeah.
So do we just keep on skipping, transitioning? At this point, we get a text that says 4 years later. It seems to still be very cold. It's night now, and Mother is doing some yard work.
Now, at this point, the 4 years later, you could obviously tell throughout the surroundings. They have silos now.
Oh yeah, they've definitely improved the compound, right?
Yeah, the pound is improved. There seems to be a little bit more crop life, I guess, because they are giant crops in the ground, whatever you want to call them. And from the looks of it, sadly, in this same scene where they actually give us the whole 4 years later, camera kind of zooms out, kind of shows us what's around, and now they have 4 tombstones now. The last two kids.
The last two kids, it's Campion and what's the other one's name?
Spiria.
I always forget Spiria. Where they're still working outside in the cold. And I just want to point out that if you've got dying kids, why the hell would you still have them work outside in the cold?
What are the choices, man? There's nothing else. What else can you do? Have them inside in the warm on their phones? No, Carlos. There's no phones here.
Right. You're right. You got me.
Okay, so Mother calls Campion and Spiria back inside and is lecturing them about Mithoraic faith and why they're against it. Obviously letting us, the viewers, know they are atheists. So Mother and Father, the androids, are trying to raise these kids, Campion and Spiria, as atheists. There's a quote that makes this scene just very interesting, which I will read now. Belief in the unreal can comfort the human mind, but it also weakens it.
So I want to say that, and we'll talk about it as the series goes on, because I believe this is actually a central topic to Raised by Wolves, where it's religion and counter religion. 'Cause that's what atheism is, right? It's counter religion. It's not its own religion. But in this show, they do a good job of showing atheism as a belief, as a faith.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that?
Well, actually, I really like the fact that they're kind of doing this on this show, because I myself, I believe there's a higher power, right? Now, do I want to compare the Mithraic to like Christianity or something like that?
I think there's definitely parallels, but it's definitely a made-up religion, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there.
Okay, yeah. You know what
I just want to point out that I was talking about the Mithraic race religion being a made-up religion. I had a thought that I'm going to keep to myself.
Okay.
Maybe you guys can come up with...
I'll
No,
cut it.
I'm okay with leaving that in.
Okay.
I'm okay with leaving this in because I like people to have their own idea about it.
Right.
So I'm not going to tell people that their religion's made up.
Yeah.
I'm let people decide that for themselves.
Of course. I mean.
And I didn't say that religion's made up. I said I wanted to say that religion's made up.
Yeah. I mean, they could figure it out on their own, right?
But he didn't say it.
But
I didn't say
it
that.
wasn't.
I
It's
didn't
not,
say that.
not implied either, ladies and gentlemen. Before there's implications out there.
But if you believe that religion is not made up, you could please let us know in the comments down below.
This show is a really religion-heavy show.
Oh yeah, it definitely, religion is definitely at the front of the show.
Yeah.
Once you watch the first episode, once you watch from here on out, you know exactly that this is what's being discussed here. Why people believe these things and why they wouldn't, and then the opposing ideology of atheism and what comes with that.
Yeah. Which is why I pointed out the quote earlier, because even though I can assume she's been teaching her kids to not believe in Mithraic beliefs.
Religion, yeah.
She's been growing these kids to be atheists. And this scene, Campion kind of shows a little like he wants to believe in the Mithraic religion.
Well,
I guess he's showing doubt on the atheists.
Yeah.
Well,
But
he has every reason to.
Well, yeah, his
His
siblings
brothers
have,
and-
his siblings have been dying. The only one that's left is Spiria, and she's sick. So what Campion mentions in the scene is that he wants to pray because maybe praying will help Spiria get better.
Well, he points out that maybe because Mother is saying that the religion is made up, and Campion pushes back. Well, they won the war.
Yeah.
So this is the first instance where they are alluding to the war back on Earth
Yeah.
between the Mithraic and the Atheists. So of course we see Campion pushing back on Mother's teachings here, because he's saying, "Oh well, the Mithraic won the war. What if their god is real? What if we pray and it saves Spiria?" But Mother is really adamant. It's like, no, there is nothing to be gained from religion. The only path to progress is science. You're atheists, peaceful, technocratic. You guys are the future. This is what we are here to do.
Yeah.
And while she's explaining, she's interrupted by Spiria coughing. And I think it's evident that
COVID's in the air. It's all this coughing, man.
that's funny. It's evident that they are not winning. The
Yeah.
atheists that put them here were wrong, and they are dying. At this point, if Spiria dies, Campion's alone with these androids. There is no society that can be created with just one man. And so the next scene transitions, and we see Campion waking up to see that Mother and Father are by Spiria's side, and Mother is holding Spiria and humming the same song that she hummed to bring Campion back to life.
Which, by the way, I have this theory that I think, well, I didn't get to see the other deaths. Well, we saw Tally, but not the other kids' deaths.
Right.
And I think Mother's doing this humming thing with Spiria because the first time she did it was with Campion, and it brought Campion back. So I feel like this is like her last hope of maybe if I hum this song, Spiria will come back. That's just a theory, right?
No, I think you're right. It's something that she may be doing out of an emotional impact of her death,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
or she is doing it because she's programmed to do it, right? But either way, she believes that it has some sort of impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now we transition to the next morning, and Mother is carrying,
Well, we were left to assume that it's Spiria's body wrapped up.
yeah, bringing her over to where Father and Campion are holding each other by the tree where they have buried the rest of the children. And they already have a hole dug up for her. So Father comes up to Mother, takes the body from her, and she's really stiff this whole time. I want to point out that Mother seems to be not all there, right?
Yeah.
I guess we could say that she's in a sort of maybe shock. Maybe shock
Yeah.
if that's what you would consider it being.
Because like I said, right, at this point, they know they've failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can happen now. There's no way that they can go on. And it's affecting Mother, because now she notices Campion is upset. I think he said something specifically, and he says, "We don't belong here." And now Mother notices him. She was staring off in the distance. She notices him, and she goes to comfort him. It's like, no, we're here to, and she tries to explain something to him, but she starts stuttering. She starts breaking down, and we see a white liquid coming out of her nose. I think it's something that's come out in Ridley Scott's stuff before, where androids and robots are fueled by this white oil or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I mean, we could assume it's just their blood at this point. Because, yeah, you're right. I have seen it in a couple of things that Ridley Scott works on. And that's basically the cyborgs or androids' blood.
Mhm.
That's basically what it is.
So now Father notices that Mother's breaking down. He comes to her and says, "Let me take you back to the barracks." But she's adamant about staying for the burial. And now we cut to another scene here where it's Campion in the silo with their food. I'm going to go ahead and start calling them carbos. I'm not sure if they have started calling them carbos in the show yet. But I know they're carbos.
Damn, Carlos.
So he's looking at the carbos, and he puts his hands over them and closes his eyes. And that's when Father says, "Campion, don't let your mother catch you praying."
Which is really, I think it's fascinating in a way because Campion has no idea how to pray. He's never seen it, obviously, because Mother teaches them to be atheists. But you have him trying to like do something with his hands, kind of like, okay, maybe this is the way you pray. He's not saying anything, but I can assume that he's, I guess,
Yeah.
speaking in his mind.
Right.
But I don't know. I just found it really fascinating how, even though they didn't teach them, he knows kind of how to do it.
Yeah, and at this point we're actually I don't want to talk about too much about the religion side of it because yeah, you are right. Like that's very fascinating how praying automatically just comes to his mind because this goes against his atheism beliefs.
Mhm.
Because now for a fact he knows like you know what like being atheist doesn't work. Like maybe that's what he came on to like believe. You know what? Yes, I'm gonna try praying here. Now I do want to point out, Father does catch him. He knows it's wrong, or they were programmed for it to be wrong. And now this is why I want to talk about that. We're going to a stereotypical mom and dad because it's starting to look like the dad is more laid back. He's letting bad things happen. Like, oh damn, like my kid's doing this, but I mean it's okay because I'm watching him. But don't let your mother catch you doing that because you're getting an ass whooping, son. That's basically what's happening, and I can relate to that. Dad, if you're listening to this, it's okay. I won't tell mom. But that's basically what I get from this scene. Like I could totally relate to this. Me getting caught doing something I'm not supposed to. That's like, God, don't. It's okay. Just don't get caught.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I want to point out that he's a robot, obviously.
course, of
Him and
course.
Mother are robots.
Yeah.
So him catching Campion praying should give them both the red flag, right? But he made the point to be like, okay, well, I know that this isn't harming him,
Right.
but I know that Mother is more stern about the religion stuff than I am.
Exactly.
I know if he is caught by her, then she's gonna be more strict. She might actually punish him, I guess.
Yeah.
But the fact that they are not in sync is noteworthy. That they don't have the same mindset, mother and father, where, oh, he's praying, he shouldn't be, let me punish him. It's like, no, I see him praying, he shouldn't be. You can keep doing it, but do not let your mother see you.
Yeah.
Which in a way, I don't know, it kind of makes the audience notice how even though this guy is an android, it's leaning more towards the human side. Like androids programming, it has to be strict. So you see him praying, you should be like,
Yeah, because it's
"Hey, stop."
code.
No, yeah, it's code. He's kind of breaking code a little.
Well, I'm going to push that back a little bit,
Okay.
because his code is to protect his family.
Okay.
I'm going to say that by an action of letting him pray for his own comfort, that's what he's supposed to be doing. Because it's not necessarily that he's more human, is that it is part of his own individual personality. Where they're both programmed to be atheists, both programmed to take care of their kids. He sees him having comfort as more valuable than owning the atheist religion to a T.
Just
So
at this point, we could call it a religion.
Yeah.
atheism is its own religion in this.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I'll go as far as to say as atheism is its own religion in real life. I'm saying that as an agnostic, which is a bullshit religion because you don't believe in anything really. You don't know anything, and you just agree that you don't know.
And here we are arguing about other people's religion, technically.
Arguing about people's fake religion.
Damn, bro, fake religions out
It's
there.
fake religion because it's a show. I'm talking about
Okay.
the fake religion in the show. Not talking about anyone's actual religion.
Please, I don't want to be anyone offended, but that's how I felt about my atheistic beliefs.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really don't want to be bound by any fucking atheists. Atheists have nothing to lose, dude. They won't go to hell.
That's right.
Okay, so we transition to Campion back in bed, looks like. And he was eating, but now it seems that he's lost the strength to even eat. The food slips out of his hand, and he's just staring into nothing. Mother notices him, comes up to him. In Spiria's voice, she encourages him and says that he needs to sleep because he has a lot of work to do tomorrow. And at this point, Campion's like, it's really nice hearing her voice, but Spiria would never say that. And now Mother's switching back to her own voice here. That no, she wouldn't. And Campion is talking about how he misses his family, and he can hardly even remember what Spiria looks like because he cannot even remember the others. But points out that since Mother's an android, she should remember all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now Mother seems to be looking inside herself or something. She ponders, and then a really weird scene happens right here,
Yeah.
where Mother grows out hair and changes the shape of her face to look like Spiria. Which is fucking weird because it's a child's face on an adult's body.
Yeah.
That's unsettling. But also it's just like the way like it morphs, right?
Yeah.
I kind of want to point out Campion's reaction. He's not really taken aback. He's like, she's here.
He's
And
excited
then-
to see
yeah,
her.
he's
Yeah.
excited. Like, I wonder if Mother has shown other, I guess, powers? Or, I don't know the exact word to, like, how to
Abilities?
name them. Abilities. If she's shown other abilities that Campion, like, why isn't Campion surprised that she could do this? I mean, he does say, why haven't you ever done this before? But he's not as surprised. Get me?
Well, I think he is surprised, but he's more excited to see his sister again.
Okay.
Than anything.
Okay.
But I'll go as far as to say that it's child actor, so they can only portray so many emotions,
And I mean,
and it's kind of complicated to be like, oh, I'm confused, but I'm excited.
Okay.
well, I mean, I'll give you that, but we got to think about that these people haven't really seen anything else besides the androids and the people that came with them. So they haven't experienced anything else besides just android behavior. So all that superhuman strength, assuming they've seen them run and not sleep. I'm assuming they've seen a lot of supernatural things that, well, not supernatural, but I mean,
Abilities.
that they themselves are not able to do. So maybe this doesn't seem too much out of the norm because he's like, oh, you know what? Like, Mom can do a bunch of stuff that I can't do. And this is just something else that she can do and I can't.
You're right.
So that's what I think. Maybe that scene and maybe that reaction, and this is me backing the child's acting skills at this point because you know what, this kid, he's probably reacting that way because he knows that this mother, an android, has more abilities than he does.
Mm-hmm.
He just adding something else to the list.
And to push back on myself, right here.
Of course.
They chose to use this scene of his reaction. So this is obviously what they wanted, right? So if they weren't happy with the way he reacted, they would have shot it until they were happy with it.
Thank you, Ridley Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Ridley Scott.
By the way, also Mother.
I also want to thank the actor. His name is Winta McGrath.
And I apologize for the pronunciation.
Yeah, I apologize for my shitty pronunciation. Great name. Just I really don't know how to say it.
Like I was saying, I wanted to point how Mother doesn't even know. She didn't even know that she could do that.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess it goes back to the earlier scene when she spilled that little white, I guess,
Liquid.
blood.
Yeah.
How something's going on with Mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
But I mean, they don't seem to be worried about it, which
Yeah.
I think is kind of telling. Like, okay, well, you're kind of breaking down, but these other things are manifesting in you. That's pretty questionable, especially when you're supposed to be worried about your mission, which is supposed to be raising 6 kids, or raising 12 kids. We'll get to that later. We'll get to that.
Spoiler alert.
We'll get to that. Let's go on. Let's go on. So now we cut to another scene here where we have now Campion outside looking for Father, and Father's by a hole, and Campion's really scared when he sees this because he says it that wait, aren't you worried about the serpents, the big snakes? It's like, no, Campion, Father tells him. The snakes were something we told you so that you guys would not play around these holes. We did not want another incident like Tally happening. But what Father is doing here, he's wrapping up a rope that they had made around these stones next to the hole. And it seems that he is trying to get to their ship that is left in this hole. This is the hole that the ship fell in.
at this point they're talking about the Mithraic, how he actually saw the Mithraic ship arrive, and how he's gonna signal them and let them know it's like, hey, like we're here, because at this point, like you had mentioned earlier, Carlos, father and they kind of failed on their mission because they only have that one kid left, and in order for society to evolve, or I guess just be more people on this Kepler 22 planet, real planet, um, in order for them to go obviously get bigger, he needs to be introduced to other humans.
Yeah.
Then this is the point of him trying to get into that hole, trying to get into their spaceship, which apparently I don't know. It just leaves us to assume that they haven't tried to go into there. Because
No,
this
they
is the
haven't,
first. This
yeah.
is the first time that this is
Well,
being done.
it's really dangerous, and they're more
Focus on the
occupied
kids.
about like building their compound and growing their kids, right?
Yeah.
But at this point, the last thing that they can do is save Campion, and that's what Father explains to Campion, that, hey, don't tell your mother, but I'm gonna call the Mithraic people to come pick you up, basically.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to pretend to be Mithraic to them, but I have a feeling that it's not gonna be too hard for you.
Oof.
And I like the way he phrases that, because it's
Yeah.
obviously referring to catching him praying earlier. That like, oh well, he's already being a good little Mithraic kid and praying.
That's probably where he got the idea to actually call the Mithraic people. He was like, you know what? It is a good idea. Maybe he was thinking about it, and now he got reassurance.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Yeah, it could work.
I think you're right. I think it could be. So now we have Father using the rope to climb down this hole. I want to point out the way that he is climbing is not safe. This is definitely really dangerous here. There are techniques that you can use as a climber with a single rope, make sure you're safe. But the way he's doing it with just having the rope between his legs and just holding it with two hands, super not safe. You're supposed to, I think, wrap it around your waist.
Yeah.
Wrap it around your waist.
I mean, I'm not a rope climber myself or any mountain climber, but I've seen that in a bunch of movies and a bunch
Seen
of
it in
other
a bunch
things.
of movies.
I've seen it in a bunch of movies, guys. So this is the first time I see it not being done like that,
Does-
and this is the first time I see an android doing it. So.
So he's climbing down this hole, trying to get to the ship. Before he gets to the ship, he sees something stuck to the side of this hole, and it seems to be a sort of cloth. Or the first time I saw it, I thought it was some sort of like snake skin or something. So I thought they were alluding to maybe they're still being snakes, like, and they're shedding their skin or something.
Yeah.
There's something to do with this cloth, right? At least that's what I assumed the first time watching it. And I say it like this, and I say it sort of disappointed. Because I think this may be one of the first continuity errors in
Okay,
the show. Specifically about the scene, Father sees the cloth, then he swings over to it, grabs it a little bit in his hands, and he's like inspecting his hands. Campion notes that the rope is fraying, so he's gonna fall if he keeps on doing this. So he throws down another rope, and Father catches it, so now he's climbing up with both these ropes. No cloth in his hand. Continuity error just because he had cloth in his hand, and he doesn't have it anymore. We didn't have a scene of him taking it away, or a scene of him throwing it away. I assumed that he still had the cloth this whole fucking
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So when they never bring the cloth up again, and they don't, I'm a little annoyed.
Like, where is this cloth?
Where the fuck is this cloth? What the fuck is going on with this cloth?
Ridley Scott, what happened?
What was the point of going down the hole to pick up the cloth if there's no cloth?
Now, at that point, I do want to say, I guess this is where Father comes into maybe a realization of some sort, because like, they did mention as he was going down the hole, it's like, oh, Campion, they're extinct, you know, like we lied to you guys, like how you had mentioned, but him seeing that skin is like, oh wait, maybe they're not extinct.
I don't think it's skin though. Like
What else could it be?
Dude,
Okay, so
I
I wa-
wait.
Wait,
The first time I saw it, I thought it was Tally's cloth, but like some, you know, because it's the same hole.
Yeah.
But
We're
seeing
assuming
it-
it's the same hole.
Yeah. But like seeing it again, it's too long for it to be any clothes that Tally
Yeah.
had.
And I want to say the first time I saw it I saw it on a small screen,
Okay.
and I thought it was some sort of skin, right? But then when I watched it in 4K, it does just look like cloth hanging by the side of the hole. What the fuck is going on with the cloth? Ridley Scott.
Damn, give us some answers, please. Leave a comment below, Ridley Scott.
Okay. I'm giving up. I'm giving up on the cloth. Moving on. So now they decide that they have to try again later because they were not successful in reaching the Mithraic. We'll try again tomorrow with sturdier rope, Father says. Now we cut back to Mother. She is sitting down in the center of the incubation room. And then she lays down, and she seems to be in some sort of trance. And it's pretty obvious she's in a trance when she starts floating, and she's floating up off the ground. The scene of the incubation room fades away into a sky and city in the background, and now it's a floating mother in a golden shell,
Yeah.
and she's flying over the city.
Yeah,
And now-
we're left to assume that this is back on planet Earth. Maybe a memory that is coming back to
I
Earth.
assume it's some sort of dream, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it, and she even says in the next scene, Mother says that when she woke up from sleep mode, she was flying. So there was something to that. That is not just her hallucinating or her dreaming. She was flying when she came out of sleep mode.
Maybe
So
another
there's-
ability.
Well, we will see.
Maybe. Oh, a little foreboding.
So now Mother's explaining to Father that she was having this scenario where she was flying. And Father kind of is suspicious here. He comes up to Mother and says like, okay, well, we know that you may be breaking down, right?
Now again, I want to point out here, typical mother and father. Father's just trying to work. He's just trying to work super hard for his family, for his last child, and mother's over here with some bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing with you. I just mean that Father is looking out for his family and looking out for Mother,
Definitely.
saying, hey, you may be breaking down. To extend your functionality, we need to do a systems check.
Yeah.
But Mother is adamant about not wanting to do it. And Campion overhearing, it's like, are you really breaking down? And Mother is trying to comfort Campion. It's like, no, I won't break down because you still need me. And now, at this point, she sits next to Campion and starts questioning him. It's like, what were you doing all day? And she staring him straight in the eyes, and he says, oh, I was making stick people. We know that he was by the hole.
Right.
With father.
And now Mother seems to pick up on his lie, and she starts shouting at him, you need to tell me what you were doing today. And this is the first instance where we see how strict Mother can be to these kids, right? Where
Yeah.
she's literally shouting at these kids when she knows that they're not being truthful. So he exposed the beams. He says that he was with Father by the ship hole, trying to contact whatever the fuck.
Right. The Mithraic.
The Mithraic, whatever the fuck.
Yes.
So now Mother leaves the little room. She goes outside, finds Father, and confronts him about it. Where she believes that they are supposed to stay atheist and build their atheist society, which was their creator's ideal. Father is pushing back, saying that they have no hope to increase their numbers. That they only have their only son, Campion, and now they are breaking down. They cannot take care of them. So he needs to be with other humans. And they seem to know that the Mithraic are on their way.
Well, yeah. Earlier in the episode, Father saw them in the sky, but he just didn't tell Mother, and this is part of the argument that they're going back and forth on, that he didn't let her know about the
The
Mithraic being there already.
And I want to point out that at this point, after Father lays it out for her, Mother is like, no, I thought we were in sync. And we were supposed to be in sync through our whole mission. Father pushes back. When we got here, we had 12 embryos. And now we only have one child. Our creator overestimated her abilities, and this seems to bother Mother the most. Because now she is shouting at Father with white liquid coming out her mouth.
Yeah.
So she is obviously in distress in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And Father is just trying to help her, saying that we need to shut you down so that we can do that systems check. And he tries to shut her down, and she hits him. He keeps on trying to shut her down, and she keeps on hitting him away. And now she's just fighting him. She is just pushing him around, pushing him to the giant skull that they had dug out.
Carries him to that school, actually.
Carries him, like lifts him up and carries him.
Yeah.
She's that strong. And then she impales him with the teeth of the thing. And I love Father's reaction here, where Mother just inflicted terrible damage to him, and the first thing he says, like, Mother, I appear to be damaged. Can you help me back to the barracks?
Yeah.
Just going back to programming. Like, oh, when we break down, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to get back to the base, and we're supposed to try to fix ourselves. But Mother doesn't listen to him. She sticks her hand into the wound that she had created, and she pulls something out, and this seems to deactivate Father. Some would say this kills Father.
This scene is very intense. This is the first time you obviously see them, I guess, argue.
Yeah.
And, I mean, these aren't my parents, right? But I felt worried. Like honestly, like mom and dad are fighting. I don't want them to fight. I felt worried.
Yeah.
It was just a struggle that I didn't want to see, especially because you see mom having, or mother having that liquid coming out of her mouth, and you're like, okay.
She needs help.
Yeah, she needs help, and all he's trying to do is help her, and she's just completely.
She's just not having it.
Yeah.
She's not having it. I don't need your help. And starts arguing, fighting. Again, this show does make it very clear these are androids, mainly because during the whole little fighting that they had, no grunting, no nothing besides them actually smacking each other. That's all you would hear.
Yeah.
And then Father saying that he needs to be led to the barracks once he's heavily damaged.
Not even in pain from the
Not
looks
even
of it.
pain?
Not even in pain, not yelling, not crying, no.
Just
No.
a little bit of broken speech.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. But we left to assume that's from the damage.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
We've already shown with Mother that she stutters and she's damaged.
Yeah, and this is one of the first times, like Letty pointed out earlier, that we see Mother kind of go out of character and lose her cool a little bit,
Yeah.
because like Campion mentioned earlier in the episode, as he's the voice of basically he's narrating the episode at the beginning. He mentions that they never lost their cool, right? Like they were always like happy. They always had good mood.
Yeah, and they always try to keep them happy.
Exactly, they always did that. But now we're starting to see what we're left to assume is Mother actually breaking down, and I guess breaking away from that and losing her cool. Maybe part of her breaking down.
Well, okay, we can say that it's her breaking down, and I've already said this a few times now. I would even push back against that and say that maybe this is part of her programming. She's getting more erratic and getting more violent as she knows that the mission is at risk, right?
You know, the thing is, I'm gonna say breaking down, because all this started happening after Spiria passed away. Like, she's at the point where all of her kids are dead, so there's nothing else, and she knows there's nothing else, and her program is just breaking down. That's what I feel like. That's what's happening. Like, her
Yeah,
kids
their
are
mission's
dead. Like, the
over.
only one that's alive is Campion. That's it. Like, their mission's over, but she doesn't want to accept it.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah, denial.
Or fair, what's the word? Characterization of what's happening. Now we cut to Campion inside the shack. I want to point out that it looks like it's the next day, because the fight was happening at night, and now it's the middle of the day. Campion walking out of the little hut that they have, looking for Mother and Father. Starts shouting, "Mother!" And Campion, Mother actually sees him from afar. She's standing on this rock, T-posing, putting her arms out, and looking up in the sky. Some would say it's a crucifixion kind of style.
Some would say that, Carlos.
I wouldn't say that. But now she comes up to Campion. I want to point out that Mother, she leaps down from where she was at, and the motion that she has, where it's she puts her whole weight down as she lands. It seems like she may be low on energy, let's say, right? And she's explaining to Campion that Father died, and that she's not able to show him the body because their bodies become radioactive as they die. So he had to be disposed of. She says he was dropped into the holes to protect him.
Of course.
And from here on, Campion needs to help Mother get to where she needs to go, because she says she's expended too much energy, and we know she's still breaking down. There's been nothing changed.
Right.
And so Campion takes her back to the barracks. She lays down, and she seems to go into sleep mode. Campion puts his head to her chest. Nothing. So he does what Father was telling.
Him he was gonna do.
Yeah, he does what Father was supposed to do before and get to the ship and call for help. So I mean, he's much smaller, so it's much easier to use the same rope and not worry about it breaking,
Right.
I would say.
Mhm.
But it's still really risky, right? Like, he's
Yeah.
not...
Because he's going down the way Father was going down, an android, and this kid is a human.
Yeah, and we don't know what kind of strength he has. We
Yeah.
know that they've been eating, but we don't know what exactly, and if it provides any sort of nutrients.
Yeah.
But Campy makes it. He makes it to the ship. He touches this orb there. It seems to turn on the ship. There seems to be some sort of crackling voice through the ship, and he's calling for help. He's just calling to the light in the ship, saying that he needs help. He presses something. Sorry. He presses something, and now the ship starts to take off. Right?
Oof. Yeah, it starts to take off, definitely.
So he quickly reacts, like, oh, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Gets back onto his rope, starts climbing up. And the ship, instead of taking off, the engines just seem to burn, and then it falls. Where it seems doesn't have what it needs to stay in place in the hole anymore. It falls into the hole, crashes, and explodes. It's actually a huge explosion there at the bottom. And the way it looks too, like the way the shockwave comes up the hole, I wanted to say that they do a really good job with the special effects in this.
Yeah.
So from here, we cut back over to Mother, and she is exhibiting another wolf-like characteristic.
Here we go.
Where they were digging up bones before, she is frantically digging up the bones. Both hands frothing at the mouth with this white liquid.
Yeah.
Rabies.
Covered in dirt now.
Yeah.
She's digging up all these bones of the giant serpent. And why? Your guess is as good as mine. So Campion comes back, finds her in a hole, just completely burned out. I would be worried here at this point if I was Campion. It seems that he left Mother alone, and now she's gone and hurt herself, potentially, right?
Mhm.
So we don't know what's going on with her.
And then, I mean,
He tries to pick her up. She's way too heavy. And the actor doing a good job here of the crying and just looking
oh no.
so distressed.
Yeah, because if something happens to Mother, he's alone.
Yeah, because
Some would say he's already alone.
Yeah. I just this next scene that happens, I think it's what a kid would do. Like, he finds comfort in his mother, and instead of keeping warm, because obviously it's snowing, keeping warm and going inside, he's outside with a blanket next to his mother.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
he-
he's taking care of her, right?
Yeah.
Or he's looking for some sort of comfort. So now we have a transition here. It seems to be the next day. Captions read, "Man, indecisive speaking." So now we know that there are some other people. Then we get little things. It seems like we can be there within 14 hours. That's what the voice is saying. And this seems to wake up Mother, because now she's asking Campion to help her up. And she can see in the distance there these people coming onto their compound. She motions to Campion. She says, "You can't tell them what I am." And Campion's like, "Why? What's going on?" It's like, "Just do what I tell you." And now these men seem to find Mother and Campion. And they are wearing these uniforms, so I would say that they may be soldiers.
Yeah.
And they have a giant, what looks like a sun on their chest. So we're to assume these are the Mithraic. And they're coming on here. They say that they were looking for a signal. And they make a point to say that, like, oh, we thought all the survivors were on our ark. Like, what's going on here? Where are you guys? It's like, the atheists didn't make their own ark, so what's going on here? Mother doesn't answer their questions. She just says, "You need to get off our land. We don't want you here." At this point, the actor
Travis.
known as Travis Fimmel. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Something tells me you're fine with it though. Something tells me you're well off, so you won't care what this lowly peasant is saying.
Damn.
He comes up and says like, "Oh well, we're signaled by you guys, and there seems to be no knowledge of any like laws on this planet. So
What
we're
do you mean,
here.
get off my land?
We're here. You can't tell us to leave, and we see that you guys have been farming a lot. We're very hungry. So pretty much showing that like, hey, we hear you. We're not gonna do what you're telling us, but we are in a bad position here where we are not straight up asking you for your food, but showing you that we're at your mercy.
Yeah, kind of giving her no choice. It's like, you know what? Yes, I do have to invite these people in because at this point, we got to keep in mind that this is supposed to be a mother figure, and she's
Yeah.
representing this towards Campion. Is like, you know what? Be nice to others.
So in the next scene, we see these soldiers being fed food here in their mess hall, this little kitchen or dining
Little
room that
hut,
they have.
whatever.
Yeah, it's a little hut that they have. And Campion's the one serving them the food. He makes sure to tell them that they cannot eat the pits of the carbos.
Yeah.
But they seem to be enjoying themselves. It seems like they are enjoying the food that they are given, right? Campion offers food to one of the people that are... When this man that is standing by the door, the rest of them point out that he doesn't need to eat because he's an android. It's like, okay, so now we have another android in the picture. So we have what looks like 4 dudes.
Yeah, it looks like 4 people, and one of them introduces himself as a cleric, and he mentions that the other 2 fought in the war. So we're getting confirmation that we were just introduced to 2 soldiers, a cleric, and another android in this show.
Yes.
Now, well, basically, the scene takes us into a different path. They start asking Campion what happened to the others, being a little bit more specific on how basically they've been living there. And this whole time, Mother's kind of looking at him like what is he telling him? Because she obviously can't be like, oh no, don't tell him that, because it's just gonna be more suspicious. And
Yeah.
she did made it clear that she didn't want them to know that she was an android, but it obviously it's pretty obvious to one of the guys there that she is an android.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So being asked by the cleric and the soldiers, like, oh, well, how many of them were you? It's like, well, there was 8 of us. My father just passed away a while ago. And this takes them a little bit back. They apologize. And the soldiers seem to find some sort of... They seem to recognize father figures.
Right.
So this boy just lost his father figure. This takes him back a little bit. So at this point, Mother is just trying to make the case for them to leave, that there is nothing here for them, suggesting that they should try the other side of the planet by chance.
Yeah.
But they point out that there is actually a tropic zone that they are looking towards. That might be a good location to live. But they do need to spend the night because they do make a point to say that the night is too harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So Campion asks Mother, like, oh, can they stay? Mother, reluctantly, you can stay, but you're going to be out the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and this was after Mother kind of like questioning them, just asking them a lot of stuff like, why are they here? Like, apparently they tell them about the Ark, where's the Ark, and how many landers did they throw out? And one of the soldiers is very like, yes, we have 3. We already sent three landers. So that basically implies that there's more people out there at the moment. There's other little groups. We're left to assume that maybe a group of 4 each. I'm not too sure on the specifics at the moment.
Aside from the giant Ark.
Exactly. Aside from the giant Ark, so they were specific on calling them landers. We're assuming that's what their ship is, and just have a little scouting party just throughout the little region, find a little place to stay.
They also ask Mother for her name. She says that her name is Lamia. I'm not sure if that's going to come into play later.
This is the
But
first time we hear of it too.
The first time we hear about it. I just want to point out that in the credits, she is the actress Amanda Collins is credited as Mother / Lamia
Okay.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they're saying like, oh, well, let us introduce ourselves. And Mother says, no, we don't need to know your names. I'll show you where you can sleep. She takes them to the incubation room. There's another building aside from their little hut. So they're sleeping apart from them. Their android, the Mithraic android, just sets up next to the entrance of this little incubation. Seems to be acting as a lookout. Now, Mother is just telling them that she has set up blankets for them. Seems that they will be comfortable. Marcus thanks her. Marcus, again, being Travis, the actor Travis Fimmel. Whatever. Just it's the guy from Vikings. If you've seen Vikings, you know what I'm talking
Any
about.
Viking fans out there?
Not sponsored, but would like to be. And at this point, while the soldiers are alone, they point out, oh yeah, she's obviously an android. Pretty much being able to figure out exactly what happened here. Like, oh, the atheists must have sent a ship with just androids and the embryos. And that's how they were able to be here for this long before us. When the cleric, actually the one to point out that orphan boy on a foreign land, this may be the prophet that the scriptures talked about. He may be the one to unlock the Mithraic mysteries. And Marcus pushing back, like, we don't know that. At the same time, he seems to have some sort of religious relic in his hand. It's like, okay, well, we have no idea what's going on, but we're all religious here. Am I right?
Now, the honestly, I thought it was pretty interesting how Marcus just kind of depicts the whole first scene and based everything that we've seen. He's like, oh, okay, well, they probably send robot with no life support, like you mentioned, and basically he mentioned the whole episode in the span of a second. Like, this is what happened. I know this is what happened. Atheists did this. They sent an android on a faster ship, no life support, and this then got the embryos and basically created what he's seen the remains of, because no one else is alive except Campion.
Yeah. So now they call in their android. They make sure to instruct him on what they're going to do. It's like, okay, well, we're going to take the boy, and you have to hold back the android if she tries to stop us. The android seems pretty confident about it. He says that Mother seems to be a low-end robot, so he should be able to take care of her. We'll see about that.
Here we go. We're looking forward to
Now the next scene, it seems to be in the morning. Marcus calls Campion over to him, and he's explaining to him, like, oh, hey, we know that she's an android, and we know that she's breaking down. We can actually fix her. But we have to take you over to our Ark. Would you like to visit our Ark? Mother can come too, but she'll have to come later. We have to go now, basically. Campion says, like, no, I'm not going to leave Mother. Marcus pushing back, is like, oh, well, she's getting dangerous. She's becoming dangerous, and I think you know that. But we can save her. We just have to use the proper tools. We'll take care of that after we make sure that you're safe, right? And he makes point to tell Campion that he has a son on the Ark, and that they may be good friends. They may become good friends. And do you know what else we have up there? We have animals on the Ark. You mean animal bones? Campion says. Like, no, we have real animals. Like,
You're trying to convince him to go with them.
So it's like the Ark that Noah made, right? Where they brought animals from Earth to repopulate the planet, right? Or whatever. At this point, Mother comes out to stop Campion from going with him. And immediately, the other android starts beating on her. He's going hard, just punching, and just... Like you mentioned before, Albert, that these androids, when they fight, there is no audio, there's no grunts or anything. They're not even breathing.
Yeah, making it real clear to us, these are androids. No struggling, throwing punches, no heavy breathing, no grunting, like you said, nothing.
Now this is a great little fight scene. I like the way that she is thrown onto the ground, and then the other android gets onto the table and then jumps down.
Just stomps on her.
Yeah.
The other android is just beating her up. And beating her up, non-stop. But I noticed Mother gets a little bit of more strength once she hears Campion shouting for her.
Yeah. Campion is now in Marcus's arms. Marcus picks him up to try to take him away, and he screams for Mother.
Yeah.
and she reacts.
She
Now-
obviously, I can assume that she defeats the other android because she goes out and she starts, I guess, she does this shriek thing
Right.
that just makes the other two soldiers bubble up.
I want to point out the different look in Mother's eyes right here,
Mm-hmm.
where she had like a darker blue eyes before, and now it seems to be a really light blue, like
Yeah.
almost like bright white,
Yeah.
bright blue light coming out of her eyes.
I also want to mention how it kind of bothered me a little. I mean, thank God he listened, but it bothered me that Campion listened to Marcus, because Mother comes out and Marcus tells Campion, don't look at her. So Campion automatically just covers his face when he has no need to believe this guy. This guy was about to kidnap him, and
Yeah.
Mother's been taking care of him for, what, 12 years?
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, do we know if Campion saw what Mother did to these two other dudes?
well, he covered his.
He covered his face completely because she tried
Can,
to.
can we
she tried to
can,
comfort
can you
him.
see that again? Sorry. No, yeah, it says don't look at her before she shouts at them. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, Campion does see the fucking punch that
So
Marcus
so I
takes.
guess Marcus sees her eyes.
But then, wouldn't that have an effect on her? On
We
him?
don't know why they
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
not to look at them.
Yeah.
We don't know. And we could put this in. We really don't know
We really don't know.
why they say don't look at Mother while she has those
I
eyes.
remember writing down on my notes Medusa because it had something like it just reminded me of that. Like you're not supposed to look at her eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not supposed to look at Medusa or you get turned into stone. But I
Yeah.
mean, this
But,
was not
like,
turning into stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like the other two soldiers died because they looked
They
at her.
looked at her. It was the shrieking that
Yeah,
caused
she-
the bubbling up.
Yeah. Which is, I want to point out, the only time we get to see that specific attack where the screech makes the soldiers' faces and skin bubble up and they die immediately, right?
Hmm.
But it's that certain effect. I just want to point out that it seems to be an attack that she doesn't use again.
I think she had some type of control on how powerful her shriek was gonna be, and made them bubble up and not explode. How we're gonna see a little bit later on.
Or maybe
Because Campion was there. I think she made them bubble up because Campion was there, not completely destroyed them.
Maybe.
again, this could be another ability that she's starting to possibly relearn.
And
Mhm.
she wasn't at her full potential,
Probably.
maybe.
Okay, so at this point, 3 of the 4 in this Mithraic squad are down and dead. The android, the cleric, and one of the soldiers.
Right.
And Mother goes to Campion, who's not looking at her, and she's like, she's like, okay, well, you stay here. And she comes up and she puts her arms out and she starts flying. It seems like she is covered in that metallic gold shield that we saw in her dream sequence, and she starts flying in T-pose in a
Crucifix.
crucifix.
Crucifix pose.
And she's following Marcus. She catches up to him as he got into the lander, and she very calmly walks to the lander
Yeah.
and touches it.
A powerful walk.
I wanted to point out here that the way she touches the lander and it changes its exterior.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's supposed to be some sort of camo that it was wearing
It
or
is. I
something.
think Marcus did it because he sees her arrive, and he like completely closes down the screen that helps him see outside, and he does this movement on the panel,
Right.
and then it turns into the rock whatever.
Cameo thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was supposed to be some sort of protection. But she touches it and then it goes back to
Yeah.
the color of the ship. And she comes back to the back side of it, opens it up, and she walks in. And Marcus immediately, with his gun out, not looking at where he's shooting, but letting it unload on her. And it shows that the protective little barrier that she had grows where the bullets were gonna hit, and she is fine. And the way that she walks up to him and he still has the gun on her. I want to point out my boy Travis, such a good actor. The way
Please leave a comment below, please.
his expression when he's out of bullets and she's on him is priceless. Just it's a look of anguish and defeat, but like a sort of acceptance too, because he looks up and says, "The boy's not safe with you." And before he could even finish the sentence, Mother knocks him to the ground.
Yeah. And I feel like he was trying to reach out to a part of her that he doesn't know exists, because he's talking to an android.
Yeah,
Why
but called Mother, obviously
Yeah.
caring for the kid. I think he was trying to reach. Yeah, like you said, he's trying to look for that sense of like humanity in her
Yeah.
that
Just
shouldn't be
reaching out.
there.
He's just reaching out, yeah.
But so then Marcus gets thrown out of the lander,
Like nothing.
and Mother, now sitting in the lander pilot seat, she powers it up and she goes up into space, going up to the Ark. And at this moment, we get to see the power that she used earlier to look like Spiria. She looks like Marcus as she calls into the Ark to say, "Hey, let me in." And they're like, "Oh, Marcus, we thought we lost you, but you're looking good now. Come on in." And she, of course, walks in, and looking like Marcus at first. The soldiers are just like, "Oh, well, what's up?" Then she turns back to look like Mother, and she immediately shouts and kills these two soldiers that came to greet her. And the way that they are blown up by Mother's screech is literally they are made into a mist of blood.
Yeah.
They completely disintegrate, and all that's left is the blood that was in their bodies. Right?
Yeah.
So she's walking down this hallway now, full of soldiers. I instantly have it reminds me of the scene from Star Wars with Darth Vader.
Like Rogue One when he's fighting.
Well, Rogue One, but it's also New Hope when they find Princess Leia's ship the first time.
Yeah.
And they're trying to keep him at bay while Leia's giving off her message.
Well, shit, yeah, that's the same scene in
Yeah,
Rogue
in
One.
Rogue
They
One,
just
they-
remade it. And
Yeah, they
made
remade it.
better.
You're right. It definitely looks better in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Where it's Darth Vader literally just hacking and slashing these soldiers who are just cannon fodder to him.
Yeah.
See, where Darth Vader is that super strong being, Mother is that super strong being in this scene here. Where there seems to be nothing that these soldiers can do to stop her. And so she comes up on what would be the command center, I want to say.
Right.
Well, it's locked, but she uses another one of her powers. She seems to breathe out a cold or a hot breath that weakens the door, and she's able to punch through it and let herself in. And now all these soldiers inside the command center are shooting at her. No effect. She lets out one scream, completely wipes them all out. Completely covered in blood at this point, Mother. She comes up to the computer, wants set to impact. I'm sorry. Set. What does she say exactly?
Collision course.
Right.
To Kepler 22.
She sets the ship to a collision course. The computer asks for confirmation that there needs to be a security check before she can do this. Obviously, you don't want to just have a ship that will just crash course when some jabroni comes in and
Some jabroni.
when some lady just comes in and tells it to crash. I'll just crash for you, my lady. And at this moment, I didn't actually notice, but these two beautiful souls here pointed out to me that she can hear the heartbeat of the last person that's alive in here. And so the computer had asked for a retina scan. She pulls out this person from under the
desk, I guess?
yeah, from under the command center desk, pulls him out, and says, like, hold still, or I'm going to have to pull out your eye, basically. And she yanks off his eyelid, his whole eyelid, and then slams his face down to the desk. Because obviously he knew what she was trying to do. He was keeping his eyes closed, so she just yanks it off, puts the face down to the desk, and it's pretty haunting the way that looks. The bloody eye and on the screen. And now she is going over to the room where they keep their kids, I guess.
Mhm.
Right. Where it seems that they've already woken up all the people that live here, and they are just in this little white room with simulation stuff. That's
It looks like a make believe forest with snow coming down.
right. And before Mother actually gets in there, she goes through a decontamination thing. So this is why the kids aren't scared of her when she should have been covered in blood. It's completely wiped off her. And what's left seems to be all the white liquid that she was letting out, right?
Yeah.
And she covers her eyes to make sure that they don't get hurt by the eyes. I still don't completely understand that.
The eyes, yeah.
But whatever, we're moving past it right
Moving
now.
past
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
moving
yeah,
past it.
And
accepting
she
it.
comes up to one of the kids, and she has a smile on her face. But all these other kids screw you, right?
I bet.
Because the very next scene we see is Campion digging. Well, not really digging holes for these bodies. He's kind of just throwing dirt onto the bodies of the soldier and cleric that were left there. And this is really sad here because he's just trying to do what he's taught to do, where if you
Yeah.
have dead people, you're supposed to bury them as an act of, I guess, remembrance or just because it's the right thing to do. But he's not prepared to do this.
Yeah. You
So-
see him just getting dirt and covering them instead of
He didn't even
digging
dig
a hole. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he really doesn't have the strength to do any of that,
Yeah,
and
no.
it's sad.
Yeah, not just that, but at this point, like, it kind of, that little scene kind of hit me in a way that I was like, whoa, like, this kid is actually alone. Maybe he's coming to terms with it, because, I mean, Mother left, like, be right back, and she just kind of disappeared
Yeah.
on a spaceship and just left the planet. It's like, okay, now what? Am I alone? Am I actually alone? So he
Better
might have
start-
come to his own realization was, you know what? Okay, I need to keep on living, and he just,
Better clean up.
yeah, that's it. And like, what else? What else?
I don't want to look at these dead bodies.
Yeah.
So now Campion sees what's overhead, the giant ship, and it's flying really low over his head, and he's staring at it as it hits the base of the mountain in the distance. And he's shocked as the world shakes to the impact, and the ship explodes in, I guess the closest thing I can relate it to is like Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's some sort of
Beautiful explosion. But
yeah, where it doesn't look like a traditional explosion. It looks like it's letting off energy that lingers in the air,
Mhm.
and it looks totally dangerous, totally radioactive or whatever, right? Like I would not want to be near that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But also from the distance, it looks beautiful,
Now,
and it cuts to Marcus, who's waking up after being knocked out. So at this point, you know Marcus is still alive because
Right.
we didn't know what Mother did to him exactly. I thought he was dead, but he's fine. He wakes up and he sees this giant explosion, didn't see what caused it, and he starts, he touches his chest and turns on his communicator, and it's static. Landing party 2, landing party 3, static. Heaven, can you hear me? Static. And this is the last we see of Marcus right here. Cuts back over to Campion. Now the lander that we saw earlier is flying overhead. And it leaves the bodies unburied, goes over to the lander, and it's Mother coming in with a couple of people, a couple of kids, and some young adults, looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
So 5 Mithraic children in total, bringing their total of children back to 6,
Mhm.
incidentally.
super sad.
Maybe
Her
s-
replacing what she lost.
Yeah,
just
she's
like
she's,
that.
she's literally replacing what she lost, so it is really sad.
Yeah.
Again, pointing out, there were more than 6 kids in that room she walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If she really cared about kids,
She would have saved all of them.
she would have saved all of them. She wouldn't have killed everyone.
I mean, she could kind of leave us to did she kill all of the kids? Did she not?
No,
kill?
No, well, we know that she literally did not kill all the kids because we have 5 of the kids here. But she is really close to an Anakin Skywalker, right?
Yeah. 'cause
Bringing
she
this back
loved
over to
them.
Star Wars.
All the younglings, all the younglings.
Yeah, Anakin would have killed all those kids.
Yeah.
But at least Mother's like, no, I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you.
Like,
Come
not,
with me.
you know what? Not you guys. You guys stay right here. I'll be right back.
Yeah, boom.
Wait,
Crashes.
wait, let me make sure I get one kid of each color here.
Yeah. This show is very good at having diversity.
Well, I think it may be back to like the way that atheist people have science, right? Each one of the kids was actually of a different race. Earlier in the thing, we did
Yeah.
talk about it because we're not racist. But I already brought it up, so I guess maybe I'm racist. It seems to be that she may be going for a similar composition of races when she brought in these other kids, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because they're all different. Not that we're actually. I don't think she was actually looking into races.
Well, she
itself.
couldn't
It
see
was
them.
just-
She covered her eyes, right?
That's true. Okay, fine. Yeah, you're right. She just lets us pick like 5 kids, and that's it. That's all I'm taking because that's all I lost. This is all I need to start the colony and making it bigger.
Moving on, and so we can wrap up the episode. Mother comes up to Campion after showing these kids. It's like, okay, these are your new brothers and sisters. Make sure you teach them what they need to survive here.
Make
I
them
have
feel
some
at home.
make them feel at home. I have some chores I have to do. And now Campion left alone with these kids. They start praying in a little circle, and we have Campion's voiceover here. And I kind of really don't like the voiceover Campion has been giving throughout the episode. It seems like it may have been added in after the fact because I feel like it's kind of suggesting at what the series may be trying to show us at the end, right? Where Campion's saying something to the effect of, I'm seeing parts of Mother that we didn't know that she had, but maybe they were there all along. Maybe there's something hiding inside of me too. And that's how we end the
A
episode.
little hint to maybe prophecy child.
Some prophecy shit, maybe, right? But I mean, do you want your prophecy to be so like heavy-handed in the way it's presented to you? Because the narration is very heavy-handed. They want you to think of this because they're telling you it. You get me? Like they're
Yeah.
not letting you form your own idea.
Kind of forcing it down my throat.
They aren't. That's the way I see it, at least. And maybe this will change throughout the season
Yeah.
because this is only the first episode. I don't want to point out again, Ridley Scott directed the first 2 episodes.
Great.
And I also want to point out, I think the show may have been rushed to release to make sure it came out during COVID. Now that everyone was stuck at home
Yeah.
with their own streaming apps and shit, right? Maybe try to get people to get some hype for this show, which is super sci-fi, super out there, where you don't have to worry about things that are happening in your real life.
Yeah. Now I wanna point out I have a little theory. I have a little theory of what's actually happening here because I mean I do want to talk about a couple theories throughout each episode and then see if we're full of shit or not.
Mhm.
And I think that well the theory that I have is that the atheists actually might have won the war. They were just programmed to believe that they lost it. That way they were just because my train of thought is here: the atheists won the war. They're trying to spread out throughout the galaxy, whatever you want to call it, and just grow out in different places. And I think that the Ark, or Heaven, as Marcus called it, was just the survivors of the meteoric race, and just trying to go to another planet. Like I said, they're just survivors. They're just trying to live technically, and they just moved to another planet because they lost.
Okay. Are you done?
Well, I mean, Jesus, yeah, I guess.
Okay. Because I want everyone to be able to share their own ideas and theories right here. Because this is what this show is supposed to be about here,
Right.
including you all at home. Feel free to share your theories.
On the comments.
But I do want to point out that you're full of shit.
Jesus.
Just off of this episode here, they already said that we didn't know that there were any atheistic pods that were going out, any atheistic ships. We were expecting this planet to be uninhabited when we got back here. But,
Well, yeah, but I mean-
also just I'm going into it with more information on the show than you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
We're supposed to watch it together, guys, but I mean,
I
whatever.
have more free time.
Apparently. Damn. Alright, fine. Whatever. Moving on.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. We'll watch it together in the end. So at the end, we'll be able to come back to you with the full range of ideas that we've all formed right now. Because
Hopefully
unfortunately,
we get some answers, not just
Yeah.
like, oh, we'll wait for the answers in the next season. Like,
yeah, I mean that's definitely something to be worried about, right? Just because that I'm gonna come out here and say that I'm a little anxious when it comes to this show because I've seen more than both of you, and I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
but I do think that there is something that they're leading to that may disappoint me. So the show starts off so fucking good that I'm so into it, I can't help but feel like it's gonna disappoint me. You get me?
Okay.
Like I'm setting the expectation of
A little too high.
maybe high enough. I want to say,
I hope so.
but and that's why like I have an idea of where it could end. It if it doesn't go there, it's not that I'll be disappointed. It has to do something that will surprise me and something that is worthy of the end of the season, right? There has to be some sort of climax and conclusion. I understand that there will be a cliffhanger. We already know that there will be a second season.
Yeah.
It just at the end we would like to have more answers than questions,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, guys, this is all the time we have for today. If you have any questions, leave comments down below. We are available on YouTube. We're looking into maybe going into Spotify. Not sponsored, but would like to be.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to us, and this has been The Far Side of the Moon.